Um, I don't know if I should put away my dog.
I just have to like have the self-control to not simp over him because he's just adorable.
And his like hookity cockity feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put him up.
Ghosty has those too. Part of the epilepsy thing. I have to keep meds on me.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what. I don't even know what that is.
Oh, epilepsy?
Yeah.
So, basically, there's too much electricity in my brain.
Electricity.
And so, I am prone to seizures, like, you know, when they have those, like, warnings at the beginning of video games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so I have a kind of epilepsy called generalized form. So it's like my whole brain, and it can't be fixed with surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly I'm not too bummed out about because I really don't want brain surgery anyways.
That sounds crazy, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
Cutting your scalp open too.
Oh man, they like cut out a piece of your skull and remove a part of your brain, and then they put that piece of your skull back in. They use like a bone saw to do it. And like a lot of times people lose like function in a limb or like they get nerve damage because we don't know how the brain works. Not well enough to be doing that, you know?
Mm.
But yeah, so I have seizures sometimes. They're really well medicated. And I'm not photosensitive, so flashing lights don't affect me.
Right.
What DAWs do you use?
Yeah, I was telling you, I just downloaded Adobe Audition, and it's like specifically for just everything audio.
That's interesting.
From Adobe.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because before that I was using just GarageBand.
That's what we've been using. But we're trying to save up and get like either like a decent version of Logic or like Ableton.
Oh, I heard Logic is like the
Logic I think is like the industry standard now.
That's what I would say, industry standard.
Ableton's like, it used to be like the best, like the creme de la creme. But now it's just like a whole bunch of money for all the same stuff Logic does.
So, I don't really have like a structure to my podcast besides the end. I think I told you, like at the end I asked the same thing, and then I started playing this game as well. You know, I never did it in person. Do you want to pick like three? So you pick one white card at random, one gray card at random, and one black card at random. And they all just have a question about just any random deep thing. And we do that at the very end.
Cool. Okay.
This is the gray one.
Just gonna do whichever one speaks to me. Ooh, that's a good one.
And a black one.
Are the black ones the heavy hitters? Okay,
That's
yeah,
what they
it's
say.
levels. Yeah, I see.
Level 3, yeah.
This one. Ooh. This is gonna be good.
We'll save that for the end.
Excited.
But yeah, man, I start every podcast for the first time I interview somebody. I just ask, tell me about who you were as a child, and how does that differ from who you are now and what you're most passionate about.
Man, well, when I was a kid, I was the smallest, dorkiest kid in my grade for like pretty much the entirety of elementary school. I was really smart. I was really good at school, but I also I just wasn't very good at sports. You know, I was small. I really liked Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So I was a little dork. I wore glasses. I had a bowl cut. Pretty much like every school I went to 3 elementary schools, I think. I got picked on in all of them. And then sometime around like the end of 5th grade, I started just getting like a little more rebellious, questioning things a little more. I finally like snapped on one of my bullies, and I got in like a fight when I was in 5th grade. And I actually won, and then I didn't get in trouble because the kid bit me, and the teacher was like, "That's ridiculous, like you don't bite people." And so yeah, from there, I think I just like, I took that and ran with it a little too hard. But I had always been into like edgier music and stuff. Like I discovered Green Day. The Dookie album was my first one. I got it at a discount CD store when I was like 7 years old, and I wasn't allowed to have it. Like I wasn't allowed to listen to rock and roll like at all growing up. My mom didn't even have real Beatles. She had the Kids Bop version. It wasn't actually Kids Bop, but it was like kids singing Beatles songs.
It was different times. Man.
Yeah.
Even just like 10 years ago, it was so different than now.
It was crazy. But yeah, so like I got this album, and you know, it was dropping F-bombs left and right. And, you know, my mom definitely wouldn't have been cool with it, so I kept it secret, but it was like, you know, this fun, exciting thing that I had. And like I always had music to make me feel better when I was getting bullied and stuff. And you know, I was listening to that like edgy, angry music because I was a quiet, tame kid who just worked on school, and that's like, you know, kind of how I let that out. And so as I was growing up, I think that kind of like influenced that a lot too. And after I got in that fight in 5th grade, I just really leaned into that whole image and that whole idea, and like being edgy and like tough and scary and like the bad boy and stuff. And so by middle school, I was like continuing to do that. I went to a new school, I had new friends, and I kind of tried to like reinvent myself. I stopped wearing my glasses and just didn't get contacts. I just was blind. And yeah, so in middle school, that's where things started really getting rough. I was really getting angry about like, you know, how I didn't have a dad, and like, you know, I had all these rules to follow, and like all I could ever do was homework. And so, you know, I started wearing skinny jeans, and I had myself a pair of Osiris shoes. I would ditch class with my friends all the time. In 7th grade, we started smoking pot for a very short time. I got busted almost immediately. And then my mom drug tested me like every month until I was like 17. So I didn't do drugs after that, but I smoked pot like once or twice when I was 13.
Damn, you're a strict mom.
Yeah, dude. Well, my dad died when I was 3, and so I just I grew up with my mom, and she's a wonderful lady. She's a therapist now. She she just had to get tough, she
Some foundation.
yeah, she didn't know what she was doing. She wanted to make sure that like I stayed on track. She did her best. Um, some would say I didn't stay completely on track, but I like to think I'm starting to get back on track now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so middle school, I got lots of referrals. I got kicked out of school, got ISS all the time. I was getting in fights. I was just a mess of a kid, but I was still really good at school in middle school. I was a couple grades ahead in elementary school, so like I had like a buffer when I stopped trying.
Yeah.
But then high school came around, and at this point, I had started playing music. I actually started playing trombone in middle school, and I was really good at it. I was first chair in like a state winning band, and I won some kind of award for sight reading. Um, but I won my first guitar at Six Flags on a band trip, and I hated the trombone, just for the record. Um, and I won my first guitar at Six Flags. Well, I didn't actually win it. I kind of cheated at the game. You shoot Dixie cups down with like this little wiffle ball gun thing, and you're supposed to take one shot, knock them all down, and you win a guitar. But it's impossible. All those games are rigged. But the dude was turned around, and I took 2 shots, and I got them all down. And so I was like, I want that one, and I got a guitar. And then I convinced my trombone teacher to give me guitar lessons at the second half of my private lessons if I finished like all of my homework early. And so that's how I learned how to read tabs. And so when I went to high school, I tried out for a performing arts high school, and I actually got scholarshiped in. Because at this point, I think what I did for the audition was I played this song called Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson.
Yeah,
if you know that one. And I did it with a blindfold on. Just the
Like
intro.
a really hard song.
Yeah. And so I got scholarshiped in for that.
You played that song?
Yeah, I can still play it.
Oh,
yeah, and I played it. It was freshman year of high school, so I was 15. I played it with a blindfold.
So you could just like feel it?
I honestly think I was better at guitar when I was a kid. Like I feel like I'm getting like arthritis or something. My hands are like slowing down a little bit. But yeah, man, I could sweep. I could, and I can still sweep. I can still play Cliffs of Dover. It's just not quite as fast anymore. But yeah, man, so when I went to the Performing Arts High School, this was completely different. It was a little tiny high school that was 6th grade through 12th, and it was only 20 kids, all of them either scholarshiped in or like just super, super rich parents, like politicians type stuff. And we had to wear a uniform. It didn't even have its own building. It technically rented out the top floor of a church downtown. And a school day was completely different. We would show up in the morning. We'd have like an hour and a half, 2 hours of academics in the morning, online with no teacher, fully like self-paced. And then the rest of the day, 5.5 or 6 hours, was all music lessons, theater, dance, stuff like that. And we would also, like, the school, instead of like field trips, would have like showcases at like the Long Center and like the Zach and like big theaters in Austin and stuff. And so I was performing at a very young age, and that's also like where I started like writing songs. But my songs weren't really very good, I mean, nobody's great at anything when they first start it, right? But I just didn't have much to write about yet. I didn't have anything to say. so the songs felt very like empty, you know. Um, but I was starting to get kind of popular with the girls around that time. You know, I was a little emo kid. I was straightening my hair. I sang pretty songs and played guitar fast. You know, like
Yeah.
I did just fine in
You're
high
part of
school. You
this.
know,
The
I was one of
scene.
the scene kids.
Nah, I was, I had a phase like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, I went from saying it's not a phase, mom, to sorry it wasn't a phase, mom. But yeah, so and like I said, 20 people in this high school. I dated 3 girls there, and that was like half of the girls there. um, but yeah, so I was with this one girl towards the end of sophomore year, and I mean, it was just crazy toxic. You know, we were kids. We didn't know how to be people or treat people yet. You know. So she cheated on me a whole bunch, and I had no idea. I was blind to it. But with one of my best friends at the time, and so like I kind of like I got like way more depressed than I'd ever been before, and you know, this is around the time when I kind of just like organically started cutting myself. I didn't like find it online. I just like, you know, self harm became a very unfortunate part of my life, you know, and it was like not very serious yet. Um, but you know, my mom panicked when she saw that, and so she sent me to a therapeutic wilderness program. If you ever heard of those. So essentially, it's like for most kids, it's an alternative to like juvie or something.
Is it like a camp? I heard of like a camp style.
It's sort of like a camp, but it's a lot crazier than that. They're actually a lot of these companies are getting sued now for like child abuse and stuff like that. And there have been lots of like deaths of their clients and stuff because it's like dangerous and like,
yeah, I know. I heard one. I had a podcast with, I forget who it was with, but she was sent for, I don't think it was a week. It was like a day to some juvenile camp facility thing, and she told me they literally left you out there for like, I don't know if it was a week. A week sounds extreme, but
I was gone for
like
4 months.
a couple of days, just like alone.
I lived in the woods for 4 months with other troubled teens. We dug trails in the Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia. So it was literally child labor too. And like state sponsored too, because we were digging trails in a public park, you know, like, and it's not like a public park, it's like a state park type vibe, you know, like it's a bunch of mountains, it's a mountain range. It's actually like the tail end of the Rocky Mountains, I believe. So how it happened was my mom got scared, you know, and she went for advice from this place next that used to be like across from Westlake High School, where they told her that like I needed to go to this wilderness program, right? And these places are all just funded by wilderness programs to trick parents into sending their kids away, and they spend $300 a day for their kids to be there, and then the wilderness program spends maybe $1 a day to keep them fed and like clothed. Yeah. So it's highway robbery, like just as a business model. But beyond that, they also did what we called getting gooned, which is where basically 2 off-duty cops in the middle of the night woke me up in my room, strip searched me, put me in the back of a car, drove me to the airport, and they took my phone, they took my wallet.
With a high of 80 degrees Celsius and a low of 56 degrees.
Good to know. But Yeah,
So
so
what
I
is
got
that? What is gooned?
it's when they have like big adults come and pick you up because the parents don't think they can get you to go to this place, right? So they like force you. They're like hired legal kidnappers. Yeah. Um, so it's insanely traumatizing for
That
kids,
sounds
right?
like a freaking show. Like a
It's
TV
horrifying,
show.
dude. Like, but
So do you remember getting gooned? Like, where
yeah,
were you at home or?
I was like I said, I was in this depression, man. I had been sleeping in my closet for like weeks. I was just in this deep pit of depression. I just did not want to be alive, but I didn't understand that feeling. I was a teenager. I had a bunch of hormones going on. I was like super heartbroken, and like I felt betrayed by like my best friend. And so I was just in a horrible, horrible place. Um, and the music thing was going great at the time. I was in a band called Doomsday December. We had like a couple thousand followers on Instagram. We had some fan pages. Cause we were the only 15-year-old metal band there was. And so we were like attainable for all of those, high school scene girls. But anyways, back to the trauma of getting gooned. So they woke me up at 3 a.m. and this was also right after the first time I did mushrooms, so I was coming off of mushrooms. And these two big dudes woke me up, and I didn't know who they were. They didn't say why they were there. They just kind of forced me. They, patted me down, made me change into like something else, and like give them my phone and all this stuff. They made sure I didn't text anybody or like say anything. Then they put me in the back of this sedan and they drove me to the Austin airport.
This was at home? You were at home?
Oh yeah, I was at home, just in my bed.
So your mom knew.
My mom knew. She like left when they came. It was like coordinated.
Like a plan.
And so I got to the airport and I kept thinking like, if I say help, like I'll be okay, right? Like somebody's gonna help me. Like this is ridiculous. They can't. There's no way they can do this. But that wasn't the case. So they had some kind of documentation that they were able to show like any security guards or any officials that I tried to like ask for help from. And they pretty much like didn't let me talk to anyone.
Did you try?
I did. I tried talking to a few people, and I just said like, help, like I don't know these guys, like they're abducting me, they're trying to take me somewhere, and like somebody actually like got some cops, and they talked to the cops, and like one of the that's how I know they were off-duty cops is because one of them showed him his badge, and then the documentation from the wilderness place, and like. Anyways, I got on the plane, man, and this dude started trying to buddy up to me and like be like, man, it's not so bad. Like you'll get to go home in like a couple months.
Somebody that was there.
The goon.
Or the goon.
Yeah. And so they flew me to Georgia. Once I got on the plane, I was allowed to know where I was going. And so we flew into the Atlanta airport. Where like they kind of passed me off to the staff from the wilderness program. There was this big fat guy there waiting for us, and then he took me out to this. I remember all this like so perfectly in my head too.
No, like
you know how trauma does that sometimes.
When you're,
like you can remember every second of it.
Exactly.
And I'm leaving out some of the gritty details, like I tried to kill myself with a broken piece of the mirror in the airplane. Like the airplane bathroom, I broke the mirror. Oh, my bad.
Really?
Whoops. I broke the mirror and I tried to unalive myself, as they say now, because it's censored.
It's banned on TikTok.
Is it?
Yeah, I posted a video about. It was in the context of if you could basically like if you could time travel, and kill baby Hitler or whatever. And the topic was on a podcast about like morality. Like
That's something that should be like celebrated.
right, like if you could save hundreds of thousands of people by killing
one dude.
yeah, TikTok doesn't like the word kill, so that's why I think that's the only platform really. Like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, they don't.
I hear YouTubers saying unalive all the time, but
They get it from TikTok.
yeah.
But you don't. Your videos don't get whatever they do.
Yeah. Well, anyways, when I got to this facility, it's called Second Nature Blue Ridge. I'm not gonna keep any anonymity for them at all. I hate those assholes. I got to this place, just this like rinky-dink looking, like one-story house with like linoleum floors in like the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Georgia. And so when I got there, they did like a full-on like skin search. Like they made me like strip down all the way. They took away my clothes. And they gave me program clothes.
Like a uniform.
Yeah, which was basically like really really cheap generic survival gear. They gave me because it was winter in Georgia in the mountains, and so it was pretty cold. So they gave me some long johns and some cargo pants, right? And then they drove me out into the woods. After, searching me and like harassing me and all this stuff and asking me questions. And they drove me out into the woods, and as I was in the car, they told me I was going to be on safety watch for the first couple weeks when I got there, and I didn't know what that meant yet, but I'll explain it in a second. So we get to this camp, and I use that term lightly because it wasn't much of a camp. There was a fire pit, sort of, and then a bunch of blue tarps, and then all these other kids who were wearing like, plain t-shirts and cargo pants and, beanies, and they looked all dirty, and like, because you only get to shower once a week out there, and it's not a real shower. You just heat up water over a fire and go out in the woods and dump it on yourself. And then you use a water bottle, literally a water bottle without the thing on it, full of watered down dish soap to wash yourself. And so everyone's nasty out there. But so I got out there and I found out real quick what safety watch meant. It's basically like suicide watch in jail. But like a couple of the like rules, when you're on safety watch, you can't be further than 10 feet from one of the staff members. So I had to be right next to one of the people who like worked for this like messed up company all the time. And when I went to sleep, I had to sleep with 2 staff members on either side of me with a tarp over me that they were laying on top of, so that I couldn't get up in the middle of the night while they were sleeping and like run away or do something, So I was literally like being restrained when I went to sleep, and during the day,
For how
obviously
long?
2 weeks I was on safety watch. The entire stay in the woods was 4 months. I was one of the longer stays because I was a little more resistant. I didn't break for like a long time, and like even in the end. But in these wilderness programs, it's basically like really raw survival. You're sleeping under your tarps, you're making fire with sticks, you're eating nothing but dehydrated beans and rice and like oats and granola.
That's what they provide you?
Yeah, that's the program food. That's what they're charging parents $300 a day for.
A day?
Like $1 a day in food. And they buy it in like bulk, like generic. Like the parents are not getting anything they're paying for, and half the therapists aren't even licensed therapists. I mean, the allegations against these places are insane. They're horrible.
They're still.
They are. They're failing, and they're under like like tons of lawsuits, but there's like it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's all profit basically, and then they just have to like pay for the lawsuits when the kids die or whatever.
Wow.
I saw a doctor once while I was there. That was the only time I had a roof over my head for 4 months. And all that nasty food, all that trauma and stuff, man. But I did have my glasses, and I never.
Like, where was your mindset at? Like, how old were you?
15. I was the youngest person in the group too, because technically the age was 16 and up, but I was close to 16, so they put me in the other group for some reason. So I was the youngest one.
Were you like, what were you thinking? Like, I can't even.
Honestly, man, like.
What did you learn? Did you learn anything?
I learned how to survive, man. I really did. I learned how to survive. Cause when I got there, man, I was once I got off safety watch. I should not have gotten off safety watch because I was still very suicidal. You know. I was picking up cans off the side of the road on hikes and like ripping them and trying to unalive myself with that. I was eating literally every mushroom I could find on the ground because I was like, either it's gonna kill me or I'm gonna trip, and either way, that's awesome. So like most of it, I was like really like trying to hurt myself. Like I was in a horrible place. And then I had this day where the staff put us on fire solos, is what it's called, and that's when not enough people in the camp know how to bow drill, is what it's called. You bust a fire with sticks, basically. You use a bow and a spindle, top rock, and a fireboard, and you make an ember, and then you put that in a nest, and you turn it into a fire, right? And so they separate everybody in the group, and you're not allowed to communicate. No human communication until you make a fire with sticks. And so they put me out in the woods, but I had my glasses. And after a while, I figured out that I could use them like a magnifying glass. And I made an ember that way. And that was like...
How'd you do that?
So, well, when you use a magnifying glass with the sun, if you get the like
that
beam,
really works.
Like yeah, that really works.
I didn't know that was.
You know, think about like when they like burn ants, like the like trope about that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could really do that.
It has to be a positive prescription. Prescription. So like glasses prescriptions are positive or negative, and mine was like a +6 because I'm super blind. And so I was able to make a fire that way and get off of fire solos, and like cheating the staff in that way kind of like reignited like something in me, I guess, you know? I felt like myself again, and then I felt like I could survive, you know? I felt like I could do it even if I didn't do it their way. You know what I mean? Because they wanted me to do it with sticks, but that was taking too long, and that was too much effort. And so I used my brain, and I worked smarter, not harder.
I mean, I look at it like you're just being resourceful.
Yeah.
Like if you were really given...
And I did learn how to bow drill, for the record, eventually. Just like after that, but... yeah, so I felt like I became myself, and I developed some confidence. And at this point, you know, hiking 8 miles every 2 days to set up a new camp, because we did not stay in the same place. We hiked all over the Blue Ridge Mountains, and massive hikes with 100-gallon packs on your back with pots and pans like attached to them. Like really like probably close to 100 pounds sometimes. Like on your back, up and down mountains as a 15-year-old, you know?
That's like a boot camp, man.
It was, man. And 4 months of that, I was in good shape. And so I started feeling invincible that last like month or so, you know? I was reading books, I was sitting out there meditating, I was just kind of like, I was making the most of it, you know? I would talk shit to the staff, you know? I'd make fun of them. I was having a good time. I'd make jokes with some of the other guys, and you know, the whole experience got like lighter, and like by no means was it like worth all the trauma or like the damage it did to my mom and I's relationship and stuff. And like, you know, I realized that like everything I got out of it like came from within me. It wasn't like part of the program. But when I came back, I found out that my girlfriend, the one I was talking about that like, you know, got me super depressed, didn't even try to write me a letter or anything. She just got a new boyfriend.
I mean,
were y'all
4
still
months
together?
ago. Were y'all still together?
When I left,
You
yeah,
married?
we were together for 6 months before I left.
But it was already like kind of toxic.
It was super toxic, man. And I like honestly after Wilderness, I had already grieved her. You know,
I was like, I'm over.
I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm done.
I mean that's why
I'm not even tripping.
I really
he can have you.
no, right. Like I really think that's the one benefit. Like minus all the whatever the hell they were doing out there. Nature itself, I think, is healing. Like
it really separated me from the problem, you know. But like, there's healthier, cheaper, more moral ways to separate one from the problem. And honestly, like all I really needed, man, was somebody to ask me how I was doing, somebody to like care, you know, and like I felt like everybody loved me, but nobody liked me. You know, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense 100%. That's exactly how I explain my ex. It's like I still love her. Like she made babies with me, and she gave me like one of the biggest blessings the world could ever give you, in my opinion, is having kids.
She's always gonna have that place in your heart.
Yeah, but it's like I don't.
You want to be around her.
It's like they're like you were explaining, like you go through like a grieving period whenever you separate from somebody you had a deep relationship with, and it's like once you go through that, now you have your mind is like more open to just you see it more clearly. It's like this wasn't it, and I still have love for her, but I'm not like it's not the same.
Yeah, you never forget the people you give your heart to. And in fact, you know, like when you get your heart back from them, you don't get the whole thing back. You know, they always have a little piece of it. And that's true with everybody, you know. But you know, when I got out of Wilderness, you know, I felt ready to like turn the page, start a new chapter, you know. And so I switched schools. I went to this other one where I also got like a partial scholarship, but I couldn't get a full one because I couldn't read music on guitar. I could read tabs, but I couldn't read treble clef. I could only read bass clef, which is like trombone and tuba and baritone and like bass and all that stuff. But anyways, so I got like a partial scholarship for the jazz band there and stuff, and I thought I was gonna be able to like, you know, just be like the best version of myself now after I'd been through all this. But I also still had like a lot of anger, and I didn't really understand it, you know. And I had a really, really big ego too, I think, because of all the stuff like, you know, no 15-year-old can handle having thousands of followers on Instagram, you know, and fan pages and people drawing them that they don't even know. You know, like people would draw like pictures of me and send them in, and like, oh man, I can show you the fan pages on Instagram. Some of them are still up. Like I just could not handle that much attention, you know, and so I had like this crazy ego that like was bottomless. Like nobody could give me enough attention. So, you know, like in middle school I was dressing like, you know, a little punk, right? Like I you know, was the little scene kid. I straightened my hair, all that stuff. But in high school, fingerless gloves, trench coat, combat boots, eyeliner, like hair dye, everything, man. Like,
Batman.
dude, they used to call me, man, I got made fun of so much in high school, but it was different because, like, they were a little bit scared of me. They used to call me the Columbine Kid. And, like, that one hurt, dude. And, it was because, like, but, you know, it made sense because I walked around, you know, in a trench coat listening to Marilyn Manson giving everybody death stares, you know? And, so I was just, I was a really, like, misguided, like, lost teen after that, you know? I didn't try in school at all. I was dabbling in, like, other drugs a little bit, like, not anything, like, heavy yet, you know, but, like, stuff that I could get away with that would be, like, out of my system before my mom drug tested me, like, I was starting to get kind of smart with it, you know? And, so I wasn't smoking pot, but I was, like, doing Adderall or, like, you know, whatever else I could get. And then I discovered Xanax, and then that was the whole thing.
Is that when this rabbit hole of
Sort of. It didn't really, like, blow up until, so I started dating this girl, who my best friend in high school, the only other kid who dressed like me, was this kid Cole Atkinson, right? And he introduced me to my high school sweetheart. He actually set us up, and he was the most selfless guy I ever met. He had a crush on her, and he set us up just because she liked me, and because I thought she was cute. I didn't know he had a crush on her until, like, years later. Yeah, so he set me up with her, and I fell head over heels in love with her. I dated her from the time I was 15 until I think I was almost 19. And so we went to prom together. Actually, we ditched prom together. And then we just kind of, like, had a night walking around downtown, sneaking into bars, and, you know, just having fun. Our prom was way better than theirs, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
But towards the end of high school, I kind of fell out with Cole, right? And then one night I was making a bagel, just a normal night. It was around 10:30, and everything just went black. I don't remember any of it, but I remember I woke up on the ground with my mom over me sobbing, and two EMTs over here, and they were telling me not to put my head up, not to stand up, to calm down. And I was screaming at them, like I was saying, "Fuck you," like, asshole. Like, apparently, when people have seizures, they get really mad. They're really confused in this thing called the postictal stage, which is where they are technically conscious, like they've woken up from the seizure, but they're not creating new memories, and they're kind of, like, belligerent, you know, like someone who's, like, blacked out on alcohol or something would be.
Like you can faintly remember some stuff, but
right, and
you're not in full control.
But, like, plus, like, some anger because of all the cortisol levels being elevated from the seizure. So I was, like, furious, and I didn't know why. I didn't know who I was mad at, but I was furious. Like, my fuse was non-existent. And so they were telling me not to get up. I pushed one of the EMTs over and then got up and walked outside. I was like, I'm fine, I don't need a stretcher, like, get the fuck off of me, and all this stuff, right? And I stumbled outside and got dizzy and fell to my knees and puked. And at this moment, I, like, in my pile of puke, I saw blood dripping into it. And that's when I realized that I had a head injury. And I could not stand up at this point, and so I said, okay, help me. And so the EMTs came out and they carried me into the ambulance. And I don't remember much of being at the hospital, but I remember they did some scans and eventually they gave me something called an EEG, which I don't know what that's an abbreviation for. I'm not a doctor. But it's a brain scan. Basically, they hook wires up to your head and monitor your brain waves. And so that's how I was diagnosed with generalized form epilepsy, which means whole brain inoperable. But fortunately, it's treatable with medication. But when I was diagnosed, I mean, it shook my world, you know. Up until this point, I was a troubled but, you know, healthy teenager. I thought I had a future. I was pretty smart, or I thought I was. And so I got diagnosed with epilepsy, man, and that's when everything really spiraled out of control. Like, I started taking pills every night, taking whatever I could get. And I was in full denial about the epilepsy too, so I wasn't taking the meds they were telling me to take, because I started taking them for a little while and I gained like 15 pounds in like a month and a half. And like the side effects from epilepsy meds are insane. They're basically just antipsychotics, but you take like 3 times the dose that you would if you had like borderline personality disorder or something. So instead of 500 milligrams of Depakote, I take 1,500 a day.
So is it like they're like
3 giant horse pills? Actually, I can show you.
They're like sedating you or what?
Yeah, they're heavy sedatives basically. And if you took my dose, like, you'd be knocked out for like the next 14, 15 hours probably. But so like I didn't want to take these meds, you know, and they're really bad for your liver. So I started refusing to take them, and I was just in full denial about the epilepsy. I was like, it's a fluke. I was doing too many drugs, like, or I was doing the wrong drugs, because I was still doing drugs. But
just not their drugs.
Yeah, exactly. not the ones that would help me. Yeah, so I just, like I said, man, I hit the fuck it button. I started doing whatever I could do, wherever I could get it, and I had like a pretty like long time with like pills and stuff, and then I eventually got kicked out of my mom's house when I was like 17.
She kicked you out?
17 or 18. It was kind of mutual. We got in like a really big fight when I was really fucked up. So I went and I got this, I rented a room on Riverside. And like, you know, Austin doesn't really have a ghetto per se, but like...
Wait, were you working or...
So I got a check from the government for my dad's death, because he was in the Marines. He was a captain in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And like his service is what caused him to die. Like that's what caused his cancer. So they sent me a check on my... I guess I was 18 when I moved out then, because they sent me a check on my 18th birthday for...
Like it was
like I want to say it was like 2,400 or something. It was like oh, here's a couple $1,000. Sorry we killed your dad. Like
no, I have a friend actually. I was gonna say that I have a friend that I think it was Agent Orange as well.
Yeah.
Because I was in the Navy for 8 years.
Oh, thank you for your service, man.
I don't even know what to say when people say that. But he was also in the Navy, and there was a chemical spill. And when you're working on a ship, you basically, the ship has this filtration system So it was getting into the ship's water
Yeah.
that the ship uses, and then it was also getting into the town that he was living in. Basically, the whole like little city he was living in, his water was being infected with that, and now he just says he feels like shit now every day, like waking up with brain fog, forgetting what he was doing.
It's criminal that the VA doesn't
do more.
Yeah,
like
you know, like I have so many. I have so many good friends who are service members, active and otherwise. You know, and like the VA, did it stop?
Is it recording? I was like, hold on. Let's keep this going.
Wait, hold on. If it did pause, I might run a pee.
Okay, yeah, we can take a break.
Did it?
I think so. See, I don't get these stuff, man.
You can.
Sometimes it just
so
feels
you
right.
can always start recording on another track, and then you can move it over to connect them. You know what I mean? If it has a max amount of.
Yeah, that's probably what it was, huh?
Yeah.
Like a max limit.
And then you can clip them together in like a video or audio editor. I'll be right back. I wish I brought Sawyer. He's way better at that stuff.
Yeah. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, I think it did have a limit for some reason. Like 50 minutes or something.
You should be able to.
I started a new track.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
You can.
Should it work now?
I think it should. I don't know how this one works, but you may have to silence that track while we're recording just so it doesn't play back. I don't know.
This one, so.
Like when you record, does it play back the tracks?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You have to switch the inputs back to a different track, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Cool.
So I guess I'd have to just paste them together.
Yeah. Once you do like the video and stuff, you should be able to like line it up. I don't know if you use like iMovie or Premiere or whatever. I think Apple actually bought Premiere. But
I use Premiere, and then I use this other program called Descript that's like only for podcasts, but it's like really slow.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Oh, where were we? You were just telling me about something.
Oh yeah,
shit.
the Agent
the oil spill.
Orange, and how the VA
is like criminally ineffective.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I, like, before I got out, I had a Master Chief that told me to just try everything in your power to get any benefit you can. And yeah, that's why I get to do this. It's like I'm partially retired from the military.
8 years, man, that's a long time.
Yeah, man, you're selling your blood to the...
Yeah, man. Funny, I was actually, when I was 16, I was talking to, like, recruiters, because I thought I wanted to be a Marine, like my dad, you know? Then I got diagnosed with epilepsy, and that's like one of the few disorders that it's like you can't really get into any branch of the military. Sometimes the Navy, but it's like really strict. And plus, like, I just have too many tattoos at this point.
Oh yeah.
Because you can only have like one on your hands, I think.
You can't have too many that are like
visible when you have a full uniform on. Yeah. Yeah.
So that neck one.
Yep. And but yeah, man. So I got this check from the government, right? The sorry we killed your dad check. And I spent it on this chest tattoo right here. And that was my first tattoo. It goes from there to there to there. It's full torso. That was my first tattoo on my 18th birthday. And then right after that, you know, my mom was pissed at me for lots of things, but the tattoo was definitely like up there at the top of the list. So I got kicked out. But I was still dating that girl, but I was also kind of on a downward spiral, doing lots of drugs and stuff.
So the epilepsy is kind of what triggered all this.
Huh? It's what really sent me down into like the depths of addiction, you know. Like I was kind of a casual partier, like on the weekend, not even on the weekends, like, you know, once a month, you know, I'd go to a party.
Yeah.
But when I was 17, yeah, I just really like, I lost it. Because I couldn't accept that I had epilepsy, but I also couldn't deny it without being so out of my mind on drugs that like I didn't know what was going on anyways. Because
like coping with it.
Exactly. Because like I mean, epilepsy is a hard thing to be in denial about, like to maintain denial, just because of the fact that like I was refusing to take my meds, so I was having seizures all the time, and so I was hitting my head, I was dislocating my shoulders, waking up with new chronic injuries like once a month, you know, and I still deal with like all of those chronic injuries, back problems with both shoulders, neck problems. I had 11 stitches in my eyelid, like a
concussion.
Yeah, lots of concussions, close to 30.
That's like what.
It's crazy that I can still like talk.
That's what I'm saying. Concussions really mess your brain up. Like I seen this video.
The last one I had a stutter for 2 weeks after. Yeah.
Does your brain like recoup from concussions?
So I advocate for psychedelics. Psilocybin is one of, if not the only chemical we know of that can literally regrow damaged pathways in the brain.
Oh, wow.
Like neural regeneration is like a science fiction thing unless you're talking about psychedelics, you know? And so like, you know, microdosing psychedelics allegedly has you know, it's helped me with a lot of the symptoms of my epilepsy and the meds I have to take for it, because they both cause memory problems in like an extreme way. But once I moved out and I was, you know, still, you know, discovering drinking, discovering new drugs. I tried heroin a couple times, and that was right around the time when my high school sweetheart, we'd been together for 3.5, maybe 4 years. She just called me one night out of the blue and broke up with me over the phone.
You were still dating her during all this?
Yeah, all of it, from 15 all the way through. Yeah, and I had fallen out with Cole. If
that was your best
you remember,
friend.
that was my best friend, right? So I really didn't have anybody after that. You know, my mom kicked me out. My girlfriend broke up with me. I was an 18-year-old alone in this apartment that was like terrible, like dangerous.
That sounds like a recipe for homelessness.
Yeah,
you know? Like you see so many people.
Spent a couple months on the streets in between apartments and stuff too. You know, like stealing to stay alive. And towards the end of my stay at that apartment complex, man, right after this girl, I won't mention the names of like anybody just because I want to keep them anonymous, you know. But right after this girl broke up with me, that was like it, you know. That's all I had, and so I decided I was gonna go out with a bang, right? And so I went out and I spent every penny that I had. I got my first job at this restaurant called Mandola's, and I spent every penny of my paycheck on just a whole bunch of excess from some random dude selling drugs in the parking lot of my apartment complex. Because that's how that apartment complex was, man. Like, you could just walk outside and talk to somebody, and then, like, boom, drugs.
Damn.
And I walked outside and I spent all of my money on ecstasy, right? Because I had just tried Molly for the first time, and the first time.
What's the difference?
So ecstasy is like pills that are usually cut with something as a base, and the base can be like meth, heroin, some kind of opiate. Now it's lots of fentanyl, I believe. Like Exos are like this ghetto version of Molly, you know.
Oh, because Molly is like the MDMA.
Molly is pure like crystal MDMA.
Yeah.
So like, and Exos are also like more dangerous because you don't know what's in them. You don't know what the dose is. You're just buying a pill that looks like the Superman logo, you know.
Okay.
So I went out and I bought 37 Exos.
Is that where you got that?
Yeah, 37 right there too. It was also how old my mom was when she had me and how many tumors killed my dad. Weird, right?
Like what's the significance?
Something, yeah. It's my grandpa's birthday too. It's 3/7. Like, it's the weirdest thing, man. That number just shows up in my life in like usually pretty horrific ways, except for being born, but like depending on how you look at it, that was pretty rough for me too. That was some pretty bad luck.
Yeah, that's so like weird.
Like things are good now, but I had to go through a solid 23 years of like hell before I got there, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I decided I was gonna go out with a bang, right? So I took all of those Exos. 37, and turns out they were super weak. They still had ecstasy in them, and they were meth based. And I also slit my wrists. And so I was bleeding out, just rolling on ecstasy.
Dude.
And
how did that feel?
I was really sweaty, dude. It's what it felt like. I was
sweaty.
Just, I don't know, I was sweaty and gray because, I mean, I was losing like a lot of blood out of both wrists, and like...
Well, but then also the
adrenaline,
ecstasy,
like, was making my blood pump faster too. But the crazy thing that happened, like, it started to clot, it started to clot, and I like kind of stopped bleeding out, but I was like really dizzy, and I like started to fall asleep, right? And my neighbor, who I was like drinking buddies with, we're not like tight anymore, but he texted me and like told me to come over and like have a beer or something, and yeah, and I didn't respond, and that was like unusual for me, you know, especially when like beer was involved. And so I didn't respond, and he got worried, and he was actually an Army vet, and I guess he just got a feeling, and he came downstairs, and he knocked, and my roommate didn't answer, I didn't answer, nobody answered. He knew I was home, my car was outside, you know, and so he kicked in the door, and he found me passed out like on my floor, bleeding into mixer bowls because I didn't want to make a mess. I didn't want to leave a mess.
What the heck? You're considerate.
Yeah, no, and like looking back, like I see how like silly that was, but like, dude, I was sleeping on a twin mattress on the floor in an apartment with no furniture because I sold it all for heroin, and like, you know, I was dark place in my life, you know. And it wasn't even the worst yet, is the crazy thing. But yeah, so Matt called an ambulance. I think he like tied off my arm or something while he waited for him. They got there. The doctors, I don't remember any of the ride to the hospital, but the doctors stitched me up. And here's where it gets really, really crazy. Guess how many stitches?
37.
Yeah.
Really?
I can show you the scars. You can count them if you want.
Oh, like total.
37 stitches between my two wrists is what it took to save my life.
Dude, I hope that's not like an omen either. It's like what if?
Dude, if I die at 37.
What if you know?
Fuck the 27 club, man. I'm gonna start the 37 club.
I used to have that poster actually with it was like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, like all the classics.
Yeah.
They all
it's insane. But yeah, so I got stitched up, man, and apparently, I don't know if it's still the case, but when I was 18, man, when you took a serious attempt on your life in the state of Texas, they would literally put you on trial to end up in Austin State Hospital, Ash, for up to 18 months. And I went from the emergency room to Shoal Creek Hospital to a building outside of Austin State Hospital with a what's the state provided attorney?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But I got assigned an attorney, and I was literally on trial for it, to prove that, you know, I was
public defender.
Public defender. That was it. That I was fit to be in society, right? And thank God I passed. But part of the condition was I had to go to rehab. And so I went to rehab for the first time. I went to a place called the Arbor in Texas, and I spent 3 months there. And I made some amazing friends. There was this one dude there. He was on the TV show My Strange Addiction. You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't heard of that one.
So basically, they find people addicted to they'll find people who are addicted to eating paper.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
This girl, I think I seen one. She was addicted to eating clothes or something. She would just chew clothes.
Right. And her stomach's filling up with cotton and stuff. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And this one guy was addicted to drinking hand sanitizer for the to get drunk on it. And he was the nicest, coolest guy ever. Yeah, it's 87% alcohol or something, but it's ethyl alcohol, so it's like moonshine. It'll make you go blind. You know, it's not it's denatured, so it's like rubbing alcohol basically.
So it's not
it'll get you. It gets you more drunk, but it's also super bad for you. Okay. It's like a million times worse for you than drinking alcohol, right?
Okay. Damn.
So this guy was he was one of the coolest people there. There was another dude who was from the same part of town as me. We were homies. I met some amazing people there. It was a great experience, you know. And afterwards, I went to this sober house, and while I was at the sober house, I started talking to Cole again. And I hit him up, and I just told him I missed him, and that I was sorry for being a dick, that it was my fault, because why we fell out was I got jealous of him talking to Ava, because I thought they had something, after I figured out that he had a crush on her when they set us up. When really, I should have seen that as him being selfless and a good friend, you know? That should have been proof enough that he wasn't gonna infringe on that, you know? And I was lucky for having a friend that amazing, and for having yeah, like I had some good people and I took them for granted and I pushed them away, you know, and so like I reconnected with Cole, and it turns out he had gone down pretty much exactly the same road as me, but he didn't go to rehab, so he was still shooting dope. He had an apartment on the east side, literally a few blocks from where I was the whole time. We didn't even know it. Yeah, we were neighbors.
That's crazy.
And so I started talking to Cole, and I said I really like miss being free, man. Like I want to get out of this place. I've been here too long. Because at this point I've been in either rehab or a sober house for 5 months, right? I was 19 now. They were making me take my meds, so I mostly stopped having seizures, but I still had all the chronic injuries, and like I was still like angry and miserable. I didn't buy into AA. I still didn't believe in God. And so I came up with this plan with Cole. He was gonna bust me out of rehab. So one night, while everybody else was going to sleep, I packed all my clothes in a industrial-sized trash bag, and I threw my guitar on my back, and Cole kind of like tricked his friend into coming to pick me up, because he said, hey, can we go pick up my buddy? Like, he didn't give him any more information than that, right? He said, hey, is it cool if we go pick up my homie? He's over on like 45th Street. And he didn't tell them, obviously, that they were going to be breaking somebody out of rehab. Because it was an IOP. It wasn't fully rehab, and it wasn't like a sober house. Like I wasn't free to leave at all times. It's intensive outpatient, basically. Like I go to therapy 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
And so Cole is sitting in the back seat. These two people are up front that he tricked into coming to get me, and I run out the front door as soon as he texts me with a trash bag full of clothes and a guitar. Left my phone in the office because they took your phone at night so that you wouldn't run away. And I was just like, fuck my phone, you can have my phone. I just need my guitar and my skinny jeans.
Yeah.
And so I ran out the front door of that place, and I jumped in the back of this Volkswagen Beetle, and I was like, go, 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 go. And these people driving and in the passenger seat were like, what? Because they had no idea what was going on. And I was like, drive. So they punched it, and we got out of there, and then I figured out what was going on, and I was like, Cole, you seriously didn't tell them, like, that like you were busting me out of rehab? You were just like, let's go pick up my friend.
Oh, the people that were
yeah. And so they were horrified at first until they figured out what was going on. They thought I just like robbed this house and like ran out or something.
Like the getaway.
Yeah. Yeah, they thought they just got tricked into like being the getaway drivers or something. But we went back to Cole's house, and I relapsed that night.
That's how it is, man.
We drank a bunch of Mickey's 40s, man, and we got stoned, and you know, things were good at first because it was just alcohol and a little bit of bud, and you know, like I can handle that. But Cole was a hardcore heroin addict at this point. He had blown out pretty much every vein in his body except for in his neck and in his yeah. So I mean, and he was 19 years old, man. He was he'd effectively ruined his life already, you know. So you know, we ran together for a little while. We had some of the best times and some of the worst times. We had hilarious moments, like getting caught in the rain, like outside, no money for a bus pass. But we were like, well, we're already high, let's just go chill in a parking garage or something.
Man, that sounds like a freaking song, man.
Dude,
I'll make a song out of that.
Cole was,
No money for a bus
he
pass.
was my, I might do that, man. I might do that. And we'll say it's featured in the Unwritten podcast.
But yeah, so I had some great times with Cole, man. But eventually, it just got to be too much. The drugs, the drinking. I decided to try to get my shit together a little more and like go back and live with my mom. And a couple weeks after I did, you know, I was still hanging out with Cole. I was still going over there. He was still coming over. But a couple weeks after I did, and the few days before, he had been calling me like sounding weird. You know, he was like paranoid, and he thought the cops were out to get him and stuff. So I knew he was like going a little harder than usual.
Like tweaking type shit?
Yeah, like he didn't usually do uppers, like that was like his standard, you know. But he seemed different, and then a couple weeks in, I got a call from his ex-girlfriend and one of my old friends, and she said Cole's dead, and I didn't believe her at first, you know. Not at all, you know. I said, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like, no, he's not. I just saw him. He's fine, you know. He's just Cole. He's playing guitar. He's watching stupid movies. Being an idiot. He's probably pissing somebody off. He's fine. Oh fuck, man. But eventually, I just dropped my phone. I was outside smoking a cigarette at my mom's house, and I just dropped my phone on the ground and kicked it across the back porch. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know what to do. I'd never lost somebody like that before me, and I finally, the next day or something, I don't even remember, like the next few days are like a blur, but I called somebody and I found out that our neighbor, because I lived with him for a while, our neighbor walked in and found him sitting in his chair with the needle sticking out of his neck. And he was living on MREs from the Salvation Army, and using methadone and heroin and all kinds of stuff. And he didn't even finish plunging the needle before he OD'd. Like it was still half full of dope, and he was already dead.
So the
needle was just sticking out of his neck. Like it hit, and he died before he even did the full dose.
So does that mean he was like already?
It was like, so full of carfentanil. He might have been on other stuff, and nobody was there. So like we don't even know. But apparently the neighbor saw that the door was just wide open, and so he pushed it open, and there was Cole, you know, all gray and gone. And I don't care what anybody says, man. 19 is way too young, bro. I mean, he was the most incredible person. He was one of the nicest people I ever met. And what I should have done then, man, was I should have got my shit together right then and there. But I didn't make the connection. I just got worse, you know. I started doing more bars, more dope. I started selling. I started trying to join a gang. I saw some horrible things that I wish I could just erase from my brain. I did some horrible things that I wish I could take back, and like a lot of those things people have forgiven me for, but I haven't forgiven myself, and I don't think I ever will for a lot of them, you know. Like I've never been a violent guy, you know. I've never really hurt anybody. I've won and lost a couple fights, but none of them were all that brutal. But yeah, dude, I went into the darkest time of my life, still denying my epilepsy, still having seizures, and just coping in all the worst ways. And finally, after years and years of shooting dope and witnessing and doing horrible things, I went to rehab again, and at this point, I had been to rehab. This was probably the 6th or 7th time. So I went a bunch. I kept trying to get the AA thing, and it just kept not working. And I would work the steps, and I'd still feel the same. And then I'd go get high, and then I'd do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And it almost seemed like I just kept getting better at relapsing. Like I wasn't getting, further, closer to like getting better. There was no progress being made, and eventually I decided, well, what if this isn't right? Like, what if I just need to like do my research, find my own way? What if I do have power over this? What if I'm not as powerless as they say? And so I took what I knew. I knew I liked music, and I knew meditation really helped me in the wilderness, and I knew that I was a survivor, and so I did what I could to survive. I started working. I bounced around a lot of jobs, but I did a lot of sales. I did a lot of construction, and the whole time I was writing music and stuff, and music became everything to me. After losing Cole, I reached a new depth in my soul. I feel like, every time you hit rock bottom, you become a deeper person, whether you want to or not, and it's not fucking worth it. but it's a fact,
Nah, I love that, man.
Yeah, and I would much rather be a shallow person than hit rock bottom as many times as I have.
Yeah, it's like the person that lived a privileged life, it's like you'll see people that are born into wealth or something. They're completely different people than
something I've always said that man, if ever anything I've ever said could turn into a quote, and it's that resilience doesn't come from pink clouds.
What are pink clouds?
Like the saying, on a pink cloud, everything's perfect. You've never heard that?
Nah.
The pink cloud is like when you think everything is like great, and you're just kind of like everything's perfect, everything's easy. It's
like it's not
the ultimate satisfaction. Like everything's easy and posh. Imagine being a billionaire, never having to cook for yourself or shop for yourself, or that's kind of the personification of what living on a pink cloud would be like. It's the metaphor there, but resilience doesn't come from an easy life. It comes from you don't get a callus without doing a little
muscle.
work.
It's just like muscle
Right.
when you work out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the same way resilience is built.
Exactly, and so I forgot where I was, but
you were going into rehab. You're doing the steps. You're figuring it out.
Right. I was deciding, maybe I'm not powerless. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's another way that might work for me better than this. And for the people that AA works for, that's awesome. Good for them. But that number is in the mid 20%.
Really.
And what the success rate of quitting on your own is? Mid 20%. They're the same exact number, and harm reduction is up to it's like 60 to 80% effective at keeping addicts off of their drug of choice for 2 years or more. So that's so 3 to 4 times more effective than AA or traditional rehab.
And harm reduction is?
Harm reduction is like when you're on heroin, they would put you on Suboxone, which is an opiate that blocks other opiates.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a not very pleasant opiate that satisfies the craving, but it also makes it so that even if you shot heroin, it wouldn't work. Because there's a chemical called naloxone in there that binds to your opiate receptors and it blocks any, I keep hitting that. It blocks any opiates from getting in. So, and naloxone is also the same thing they use in Narcan to revive people when they overdose on heroin. Because it just blocks those receptors, so it just cuts it off. So I tried Suboxone for a while, and I was still being kind of sketchy, you know. And eventually I started getting into psychedelics. And around that time, I got my first DUI. I went to jail. I thought I was hot shit, and the jail taught me I wasn't. You know, I'm not that tough. And I got out, got on harm reduction, got into psychedelics, and psychedelics are really what changed things for me. Because I started looking at my addiction differently. I started looking at it as like, all I had to do was fill that hole. It didn't have to be spirituality. It didn't have to be AA. It didn't have to be a different drug. Like, I just had to take care of myself. I had to care about the people around me. I had to fill that hole with life rather than filling it with something that was going to kill me. And so that's what I did. You know, I started doing music. I started recording while I was in rehab. Writing songs that were like nothing I'd ever written before. I wrote about losing Cole, and I wrote about losing a lot of other people too, because now there were about 20 people and 10 staff at my first rehab, the Arbor. As far as I know, all of them except for me and 3 other guys are dead, including the staff.
Including the staff? So
the staff are usually ex-addicts that got sober and started working as techs at a rehab, right? They all relapsed and they're all dead. Even like the head staff, the ones who were like the most inspiring people in sobriety to me, you know, like they were weak one night and they went out and they got some heroin. They did a shot and they did a shot like they used to. And once your tolerance gone, man, if you don't have a tolerance anymore and you try to use like you used to, it's just gonna kill you.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens every time, man. I've lost Joe, I've lost Ned, I've lost all 3 of the Joshes, I've lost Sean, everybody, man. They all they dropped like flies, dude, and like in their teens and 20s and like young kids, bro, you know, like it's fucked up. And I don't know how I'm the one that survived, you know, because I was the most reckless. Like, I didn't even use clean needles half the time, you know, like it doesn't make sense that I survived. I've OD'd on, I got addicted to roofing myself for like 3 months. And I OD'd on GHB. That's the Bill Cosby one. I happened upon like a gallon of this stuff, and I couldn't in my right mind sell it because it's, you know, it's a horrible drug that's used for horrible things. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have an unlimited supply and get addicted to this. And so that's what I did until I OD'd on it, got revived, and OD'd on pills when those like laced perk 30s started hitting the streets. I got Narcan.
Yeah, tell me, I want to know about that. Because you like half died.
Yeah, so my
Did you see the light?
which time?
Which time? So you've seen the light 4 times.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it seeing the light. It's
Well, they call it NDE, near death experience.
yeah, and I've talked to lots of people who've had near death experiences while like in comas and stuff. Because I've tried to make sense of like a lot of things that have like happened like when I was about to die and stuff. And the crazy thing is, even the times when it was like I should have been dying a violent death, you know, because like the way I was going out was horrific. I OD'd on Benadryl one time and passed out face down in my own vomit.
You can OD on Benadryl.
I took 500 of them, so yeah. Benadryl's actually, it's crazy that it's like an over-the-counter drug, honestly, because you can completely lose your mind. You can overdose. It can give you dementia if you take it regularly. It's actually kind of a messed up drug, but like
don't do it.
And then when I was like 20, I slit my throat with a box cutter, 50 stitches that time. You can see the
Yeah, I see.
yeah, like those times where I was coughing up blood, I hit my jugular, and
You're still alive.
I hit something. I don't know, like, but I know I coughed up blood. And, I just like I nicked it, and then 2 surgeons took 48 hours, and I was good. I was found in my car, but
I mean, the fact that you're still alive, man, like
I know, right?
the fact that we're having this conversation, it seems against all odds, right?
I mean, you were in the Navy for 8 years, man. The fact that all of us are still here is against all odds, and nobody has any excuse to not do what they want to do with their lives, because it's a miracle that we're all here, you know? And, but yeah, man, I even when I should have been dying a horrible, violent death, I was never more at peace. And I wanna tell people for sure there's nothing to fear with death. You have nothing to be afraid of. It's not something to look forward to. It's not something to make happen early, but it's not something to fear either. And if you spend all your time fearing death, you're gonna forget to live. And so, death is peace.
You said that was the most at peace you felt with all of these.
Yeah, I mean, it's like getting a good night's sleep, you know, and then like waking up was the horrifying part, because you know, after the Benadryl, I had tubes in my mouth and like a catheter in, and I couldn't leave my bed, and I was basically just losing my mind for 2 weeks in psychosis, and like you know, waking up from getting Narcan, like I was sent straight into withdrawals because it blocked off my opiate receptors. So I was shivering, and like, you know, I'm pretty sure I threw up. But my best friend Darius kept me alive until the EMTs got there. He gave me CPR. Like my friends, my mom, my friends and my mom, and like the people around me are the reason I'm still here. And music too, like all this stuff, man. And so, you know, all that stuff and more. There is so much more too. Like it'd be too much. If I told you my whole story, every nitty gritty detail, bro, we'd be here for like 12 hours. But like. Yeah, man, that, you know, led me to music, and I went to college a few times. I kept changing my major. I've tried 4 different majors, And eventually I just decided, man, like, I want to be a musician. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make that happen because I got something to say and I want people to hear it. And so ever since then, man, I've been grinding, I've been writing, I've been doing everything I can to make sure I get my story to the people who need to hear it, you know, because there are people out there who are struggling like me. There's people with epilepsy, there's addicts, there's people grieving, there's people who may be about to kill themselves, you know, self-harm, anorexia, like the list just goes on and on and on and on, and there's not enough people to help all these people. And so, like, we need things like music and art that reach large groups of people to, like, solve widespread problems like that, you know?
No, that's like the one thing that makes me cry, man, is music and art and, like, movies and stuff. It's like, it's hard for, I mean, I think it's just hard for men in general to truly express their feelings and be open and vulnerable, which I think is just part of our human programming, man. So I'm happy that you were open and expressive with everything, because I think it's something that needs to be shown.
It's a total open book, man. Like, I decided that, like, the more painful it is, the more necessary it is to say, and that, like, when I'm writing a song that I'm like, damn, I really don't want to let people know this. When I'm like writing a line, you know, I'm like, that just means I need to put it in all that much more, you know?
Yeah.
It's because, you know, like, everybody said all this stuff that's easy to say, and it's not very helpful. So, like, it's time to approach the more difficult subjects and address those and solve real problems with it, you know?
Yeah, man. So what now? What are you up to now? What do you wanna?
And I'm writing my music. I've got a lot to say about this whole political climate right now. I just released a song called, or I released a single that's already out on SoundCloud and it's coming out on Spotify in the next few days. It was supposed to be yesterday, but DistroKid messed up our release. But it's called The Rebellion Will Not Be Televised. The cover is a picture of Luigi Mangione smiling on a CCTV camera. And my band's called Shakes and Chills. Check us out. That song is going to be up on Spotify pretty soon. And then we also have a full-length album coming out in the next month or two called No Bueno. And that's another one you can't miss. It's a drawing of Trump with X's over his eyes and a Hitler mustache. Yeah, it's just continuing to fight the good fight, man. I wanna talk about addiction. I wanna talk about equality. I wanna make my music into something that means something to more than just me.
I think we'd have to do another podcast to talk about the political stuff.
Oh, absolutely, man. I would love to.
Man, I don't even like to talk about politics. I always tell people I'm like apolitical because it just, it's a hard topic to talk about and express your feelings without feeling some sort of judgment.
Trying to dig in somebody.
Without feeling judged for how you feel, because you may not know all the information or whatever. That's just your opinion about it.
Yeah.
And then if you
see, like, I own a gun, but I think everyone should have rights. So, like, you know, like, I'm non-conforming is what I call it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an anarcho-communist, maybe a democratic socialist. I'm not really sure. I don't really do categories. That's why our band sounds like 5 different genres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the apolitical idea.
I just
I think it's an
I
act
have
of
views
rebellion
from-
against the two-party system, and I love
Yeah.
that.
Like, cause me personally, if you like broke it down, this is what this side thinks, and this is what this side thinks. I agree with both, some of both. And
Right.
it's like, but now you have to
But
pick
you
and
have to
choose.
pick one or the other.
Yeah, so that's what, I don't know, it's just hard.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you, man. And then if you find a candidate that you actually like that's not in either party, then it's just like wasting your vote
Doesn't
because
matter.
they're gonna get like 100,000 votes.
That's the way the system is set up,
Yeah, and like it's designed to keep us fighting each other over these little differences, like
Yeah, that's
like
what
what color our skin is, or what we got in our pants, or like whatever.
or what happened recently,
Yeah.
the genders and stuff.
Exactly, man, and it's all just so they can just keep us distracted and fighting each other, so we don't realize that the real enemy is the people who could literally solve world hunger with last year's salary.
Not for real.
That's an actual statistic. Elon Musk is worth more than $400 billion, right? It would cost $30 billion to end. I'm pretty sure I got these numbers right. $30 billion to end homelessness in America. $30 billion to rebuild all 12,000 homes in LA. And $40 billion to end world hunger. So that is less than a quarter of his net worth could solve some of the biggest problems in our world, and he would still have $340 billion.
I don't know, man.
That's one person sacrificing less than a quarter of their fortune, and they won't do it. He wants to go to Mars.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
No, I get it, but it's also like I also see it from like a business perspective.
Mhm.
Is
He wants to be the first trillionaire. Really.
but that's not his like he probably has like 50% of all that. So in reality, he's probably like 200 billion, but he still could. But then
I
the
mean, like,
argument
if we sat here and like talked out like how to spend $1 billion,
right.
like, could you even think of like we could walk through your whole neighborhood and buy every
You can
house
buy this whole neighborhood.
and like not even cut through 100.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's just like, yeah, but Mikey Mullen.
Mikey Mullen, yes sir.
We didn't even exchange like
Yeah,
full
Mikey
names
Mullen.
before.
I also go by Shakes from Shakes and Chills. They call me Shakes
Oh,
because
really?
I went through withdrawals and I have epilepsy. So
Yeah, I was wondering where the name came from.
Yeah, it's because I shake a lot.
Yeah, when I heard of that, and then when you told me your story.
I also have this magnet implanted in my chest to help with my epilepsy.
Oh,
Right there. That causes my voice to shake. So
That's your nickname?
yeah. So my nickname is Shakes. It turns on and off like every 5 minutes. I don't know if you've heard my voice change at all
I
through the
didn't
interview.
really notice it.
It's changed right now and it's about to come back. I'll let you know. Wait for it. And it's back.
And you can.
That's how my voice is normally. And did you hear the tone change?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that crazy? It's actually a pretty inconvenient thing when you're a singer, but I figured out how to use like the grittiness in my voice to like kind of overcome it and just work it into the sound.
Yeah, it's not as noticeable when you're just talking, but when you like.
When you point it, it's
Point it
always when I
out,
point it
yeah.
out, people are like, oh, like.
Yeah, like what you just did. You
Yeah.
can clearly, like it was a different.
I can't
story.
control it at all either. It's a magnet right here and then a wire that wraps around my vocal cords and stimulates my vagus nerve when there's like too much electricity going through it to make me have less seizures less often.
Oh, so
and
it helps.
they're like not as intense, yeah.
Hmm.
But I have to get a surgery every 5 years to replace the battery.
That's still kind of crazy that you have like this thing in your body.
Yeah, no, and it was an experimental surgery when I got it too.
Oh damn.
Yeah, they weren't sure if it was gonna work, but
But
it
it's
did.
working.
It did, yeah.
All right, man. Let's play this game.
You move on to the cards.
How deep we go? You start
Let's
with
do
number one.
white, gray, black.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So my level 1 question is what motivates you in life? I feel like I'm living on borrowed time. You know, I feel like you know, all of those things should have killed me, but they didn't. You know, so what motivates me in life is my belief that I'm here to share my story, to help people, and to do good in the world, and to leave a legacy that outlives me, even if epilepsy kills me tomorrow, you know? And it could. There's a thing called SUDEP, which is sudden unexpected death. It's like basically SIDS, like for infants, you know? But it's like with epileptics, like you just basically have a seizure that you don't come back from. You either go into a coma or you just straight up die. And it happens to a lot of people. That kid from The Grown Ups, he died that way.
The movie?
Yeah, you know the movie Grown Ups?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Sandler's son in that movie, he died of epilepsy at like 22. In his, like, he just had a seizure at night and just died.
So the way epilepsy kills you is through seizures?
Yeah, so the seizures are an electrical storm in the brain, and every time you have one, it damages neurons. And they can get so damaged that they just don't connect anymore, and the brain won't turn on. My voice just changed back if you heard that too.
I heard it,
Yeah.
So you're just like brain dead.
Pretty much, yeah.
Damn, dude.
So like, you know, I could lose my life at any moment, but like, but I feel like I'm here to help people, and so that's what motivates me. Is like I want to share my story, and I want to make people who are going through what I went through feel less alone, because I felt really alone, and the only thing that got me through it was music and good people, you know. So yeah, level 2. This is my gray card. Confessions. What do you do that you aren't proud of? This one is easy. It's a hard question to answer, but it's easy to choose my answer. All my vices, and you know, like I'd really love to like completely quit nicotine and like alcohol, and I probably have to smoke pot still, because you know it treats my epilepsy, so I got a pretty good excuse for that one. I can even get a script in Texas right here.
Oh really?
Yeah, Compassionate Use Act. It's for cancer patients and epilepsy and like a few other things. And you know, you're a military guy, so PTSD is one of those. Yeah. Even if you don't have PTSD, just, you know, if you want to script him.
Some of the high grade stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to quit my vices. You know, I quit heroin. I quit all the hard stuff. But I know alcohol is still absolutely horrible. Like maybe one of the worst ones, and the nicotine is like proven as the most addictive substance. I can verify that. I'm like, keep going back and forth on quitting, man. Patches, lozenges, fucking vapes, the pouches, all of them. I've tried everything.
They say that nicotine is actually a really good nootropic. Like it's really good for your brain, but only in like micro doses.
Yeah. Native Americans used to use it for like rituals and stuff. It's crazy how many things they But they used it in very small amounts, you know? Like, it's crazy how many things they had figured out without really having
Like
any kind of
and
science or anything, you know?
technologies,
Like they had to be getting knowledge from somewhere, and my theory is DMT.
DMT. I thought you were gonna say aliens.
You know? I mean, yeah, I mean, that's where DMT came from, but...
I was just listening to the Joe Rogan pod with
Oh man,
aliens.
we could have a whole other conversation about politics and aliens too, because I'm a total conspiracy theorist. Like, because I mean, conspiracies are only conspiracies for about 10 years, and then the government's like, yeah, that was real.
Well, yeah, they start from somewhere. Right?
Yeah. Level 3, getting deep. What's the most painful thing you've been told? It's kind of a combination between two things I've talked about tonight, you know. Three things actually. One that I haven't mentioned. Number one is probably being told that Cole died, because that was like impossible to accept, and like I just it broke me, you know. The second most painful thing was being told I had epilepsy, and the third most painful thing was all the times, just being told I was cheated on, you know. That's something that'll break anybody, and those are the three things, probably like the only three things verbally that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's something that just nobody should go, those are three things that like nobody should go through.
Well, for betrayal, I mean, and it's kind of crazy because those are three things that happen to most people if you live a long life.
Yeah, and I mean you can replace the epilepsy thing with you can replace that with like any, you know, chronic disease or anything that could kill you, you know, like being told that like you may not live an average lifespan, or being told that you're dying after you have lived an average lifespan. See, I've hit my head so many times that sometimes I say words that sound vaguely like what I'm trying to say.
No, that's not
like brain damage for me has like shown its head in like the weirdest ways. Like that stutter I woke up with for 2 weeks after this whole thing happened, and I broke my orbital bone and like almost went blind and stuff. But yeah, man, certain things nobody should ever have to hear, and like epilepsy, it's a chronic disease that like affects your quality of life, and that's something that like it's awful to hear for anybody, you know. Makes you feel less than, and it like really takes a dig at your sense of hope.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me,
man. My last questions I ask every guest. These can be rapid fire, or you can elaborate on them if you like. The first one is, what is your biggest regret?
Probably not being a better friend to Cole. I mean, we were best friends. He loved me, but and he never saw anything I ever did as letting him down. But in my head, I feel like I let him down a couple times. I feel like I should have done more to make his life better when I left, because I knew he was in a bad place, and I should have thought about what being alone was gonna do to him. You know?
Yeah, because he was alone as well.
I mean, that's why he let me live with him for free, is because he just wanted some company. He was killing himself, and he just didn't want to do it alone.
Man. Yeah, I haven't even experienced that in my life yet.
That's good.
But listening to your story, just, I don't know, man. It's just not hard to hear, but just like this is happening to real people. Like how do
It could happen
how
to
do we
anybody,
help
man.
these? Like
I got diagnosed with epilepsy, and that made me end up a heroin addict. Some people break their legs, and a doctor gives them a script for hydrocodone. They run out of hydrocodone, and then they go buy some heroin. Cause like,
the real gateway.
It's real people. This could be your friends and your family ODing on this awful, awful shit. You know, like it's not just people you see on the street. These like fentanyl zombies. You know, like leaning over and stuff. Like it's not just that. It's anybody. Those were people. They are people. You know, like they were just like you and me. You know, I was one of those people. You know, and those people need help. And it's going to take someone to treat them like a person for them to get that help that they need.
Yeah, don't see them as
a nuisance, something to step over on your way to work,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Man. My next question is, who or what has made the biggest impact in your life?
Probably either my dad, just being, you know, I mean, he was an incredible man. His achievements were never ending. He was captain in the United States Marine Corps, served in the Vietnam War, saw lots of combat. I still have his helmet. There's bullet holes in it. Like, you know, I mean, he stitched up bullet holes in his helmet and kept using it. There's pieces of shrapnel stuck in the soles of his boots just in case he stepped on a landmine, you know, like he was a tough son of a bitch. And then he came back, people spat in his face, because it was Vietnam, you know, he got off the plane and people spat in his face. And then he still became a cop in Houston, and I don't like the police, but but I'm sure my dad was a good cop, and there are lots of good cops out there. Just in general, as an institution, I'm not a big fan of it. But then he became a lawyer, and then he opened up his own law firm, and then he was going to be the first Democratic judge in Texas. Before he district judge, I mean, before he got diagnosed with cancer at stage 4 melanoma. Or no, it was soft tissue sarcoma, not melanoma. I always get that wrong. My mom corrected me recently, and there goes another voice change, by the way. So yeah, my dad, and then not to sound like a little fanboy, but Billy Joe Armstrong for sure. Is just definitely like my hero. I saw Green Day on TV when I was 4 years old on MTV, and I decided in that moment that I wanted to be a rock star.
Green Day?
Green Day.
That was when MTV used to actually play
Had music,
right?
yeah. That was like towards the end of it, but yeah.
No, I remember waking up every morning.
I just barely made the cut, but I'm still a 90s kid.
You said you're 26, right?
Yeah.
So 4 years younger than me.
98.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I used to watch, they used to play, like hardcore stuff on there too sometimes, like
Yeah.
Metal Mania or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I remember. I
They
think
had
that might
all
have
the
been what it was
stuff.
called too.
Metal Mania or something, and it would be late at night, like nobody would be up. Like,
Yeah. No, they saved the counterculture for the people that like can't sleep.
yeah. Alright, man. What is one lesson that you had to learn the hard way?
It's not all about me. You know, I really thought everything was about me. I thought I was the shit. I thought I was the best in the world. I thought I was the best musician. I thought I was gonna be a rock star instantly. I thought everybody was gonna love me. Thought all the girls were gonna want to fuck me. You know, life's not that and life's more complicated than that. You know, nobody's perfect. Everybody has their flaws, and everybody has a journey that they have to go on. You know, and at the end of that journey, their destination may be that they're pretty close to perfect, but that journey is your life, so you're never going to be anywhere near perfect until you're about to die. So stop worrying about perfection and just live in the moment. Just do the best you can, you know?
Yeah, every day. I always tell myself every day is a new day to start fresh versus who you were yesterday.
And it's never too late to change. You're never too far down. I kept hitting rock bottom and then digging a couple feet lower, you know? And rock bottom can always get lower until you just fall right through.
It's an endless pit.
Yeah, and when you fall right through, that's when you OD, man. That's when you, or you know, whatever your problem is, that's when you die. You know, it can get so bad that it just ends, and like, there's no limit to that. Rock bottom is exactly where you decide to stop digging.
How do you find your way back up now?
One step at a time.
Man. Alright, this next question is just not that deep one, but it was something I wrote that I was curious to hear everybody's answer to. And it's, what would you do in life if you had all the time and all the money you ever needed?
The rebel in me wants to say I'd get on live television and burn all that money. The humanitarian in me. I'd buy my mom a house. I'd buy all my friends a house. And then I'd just walk down the street handing out money until I got down to like exactly how much I need to live on, you know? And I don't need that much, man. I've had some years where I've had some years where I got by on like couch hopping, sleeping in my car, and maybe $5,000 the whole year.
It's possible, man.
Yeah, and I like seeing the world become a better place more than I like getting things for myself, you know? Like possessions and crap like that, it's just empty, like temporary happiness.
That's exactly, yeah.
Whereas like helping other people, it's like exercising your soul, you know?
It's fulfilling, yeah.
Yeah.
It has more meaning.
And it sticks with you.
Yeah.
You know, like it's lasting happiness that doesn't go out of date.
Not from ego though.
Right.
Not from like, oh, look what I did.
It's like It's like the world is a better place. I feel better about my existence in the world.
It's like a win-win.
Yeah,
like we're
exactly.
all winning.
Like selfishly and selflessly, like
just being happy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just it just makes things better, you know. And I think it's silly all the people who like they blow up and they buy a Ferrari or some shit, you know. Like it's like your life has been lived a million times, dude. Like.
No, yeah.
Go do something that shocks people. Go burn $1 million on live TV, or like go to
Mr.
a
Beast shit.
oh dude go to a homeless shelter and give everyone there $20,000. Like yeah, and I mean that might not be the best way to do it because like a lot of those people are gonna just overdose if you give them 20 grand. But like you know, spend some money on resources for them. You know. Like do something that helps somebody and then like they're gonna be thinking about you their whole lives if you change their life, you know, like your legacy will outlive you and people will remember you fondly and like that's more about selfishly if you want to talk about like selfish like that's way more valuable than some possession that is either gonna get passed down to your kids or if you don't have kids it's just gonna get repossessed, you know, like.
Yeah, because it seems selfish, like in a way, because it's like I'm doing this because it makes me feel good, selfish, but it's also selfless at the same time,
Right.
Because it's not purely selfish and like it's only about me.
Right. Exactly. Dude, like. The two best moments of my life in the last like 2 years probably were when this one girl told me that she listened to my EP and it made her want to go to rehab.
Yeah.
So she went to rehab like the next day. I wrote a song and dedicated it to her on Instagram and everything. And that was like nothing has ever made me feel better. And that shit was free, like you know. And then like as far as spending money. Sawyer and I had like a good show 1 week or something, and we made like $400 total or something, and that's a good show for us. Yeah. But we took like $200 of that, and we went and bought a bunch of oatmeal and like noodles and like canned stuff, and like we went out to the Arch in downtown Austin, and we just handed out food and like drinks and water to homeless people, and like water is really useful because you know they need. Like if they're gonna shoot up, man, give them clean water to shoot up so they don't get like a staph infection, you know. Yeah. Like so, like water is useful. Like foods that don't expire, cans that have the like flip top on them, so they don't need a can opener. Like you just, I was on the streets, so like
Basic
I,
stuff,
you know,
yeah.
like I know like what those people are looking for. You know.
Survival.
Yeah, like stuff that's like easy. And oh man, I don't know how if I had an effect on any of those people really, but like they had an effect on me. I felt amazing after that. You know, I really hope I had an effect on them. At the very least, I got some food in their stomachs for that day. You know, and like that's fucking awesome. And I felt great about it. You know, I could have spent that $200 on like a new pair of fucking sunglasses or like a watch or whatever. But what's that gonna do?
Yeah, it just has no meaning besides the pure like.
And wear it a couple days of the week, like feel
showing
kind of
off
cool,
or something.
you know.
Yeah.
But like, what are you showing off, man? Like you're an asshole and you spend all your money on yourself, like.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't know. That's one thing I would never like really.
I'm not much for flexing.
Like there's only so much you can do when you reach that level. So yeah. But man, is there any, my last question is there any last thing that you think would resonate with one person listening right now?
If you haven't heard I love you in a long time, I love you. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna make it through this. Just hang in there. Nothing lasts forever. The good feelings don't last forever either, but the bad feelings don't last forever at all. And It's never worth giving up. The glass might not be half full, but it's not empty either.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
That's it. It's a wrap.
All right. That was great, man.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, man, I gotta pee again.
I hope
My wine
everything
went
saved, man.
right through me.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope so too. That
Yeah,
felt
we got
really
it.
good, man.
We got everything.
I really didn't expect to like get to such an emotional place over the stuff with Cole, but I'm